The Art of Mastering Your Mind. Chapter 1: The Whispering Shadow. The room was shrouded in darkness save for the pale moonlight spilling through a crack in the curtains. Julian sat cross-legged on the floor, his eyes closed and his breath measured. The weight of the world seemed to rest on his shoulders, an invisible burden pressing down, suffocating, relentless. In the silence, a whispering shadow, the embodiment of his fears and doubts, gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. It had been like this for months, a battle between his inner turmoil and a desperate desire for peace. Julian knew he had to gain control over his mind, but the path seemed elusive, a labyrinth without an exit. His journey into mindfulness and mental mastery had begun out of sheer necessity, driven by sleepless nights and restless days. The whispers grew louder, but so did his resolve. Chapter 2. The journey begins. "You're losing it," Julian and his friend Mark had told him one evening over coffee. "You need to get a grip, man. Have you ever thought about meditation or something?" Julian had scoffed at the idea initially, dismissing it as New Age nonsense. But as the days turned into weeks, and his nights continued to be plagued by the whispering shadow, he began to reconsider. One late night, after a particularly harrowing encounter with his inner demons, Julian found himself scrolling through articles and videos about mindfulness and meditation. The more he read, the more he realized that perhaps the key to taming the chaos in his mind lay within him. With a mixture of skepticism and hope, Julian decided to give it a try. He started small, setting aside just 5 minutes each morning to sit in silence, focusing on his breath. The first few days were torturous. His mind rebelled, thoughts racing faster than ever before. But he persisted, determined to reclaim his peace. Chapter 3: The First Breakthrough. After weeks of what felt like futile effort, Julian experienced his first breakthrough. It was a crisp autumn morning. He was sitting on his balcony, the cool breeze brushing against his skin, the distant sounds of the city providing a gentle backdrop. As he focused on his breath, something shifted. For the briefest of moments, the whispering shadow fell silent. There was only the sound of his breath, steady and calm, and a profound sense of stillness washed over him. That moment, fleeting as it was, filled Julian with a renewed sense of purpose. He began to delve deeper into the practice of mindfulness, seeking out books, attending workshops, and even joining a local meditation group. He learned about the importance of observing his thoughts without judgment, acknowledging their presence, and letting them pass like clouds in the sky. Chapter 4: The Mentor. During one of the meditation group sessions, Julian met Sophia, a serene woman with an aura of wisdom and tranquility. She had been practicing mindfulness for over a decade and had an uncanny ability to see through the chaos of one's mind. Intrigued by her calm demeanor and the stories of her own journey, Julian approached her for guidance. Sophia agreed to mentor him, and under her tutelage, Julian's practice evolved. She introduced him to various techniques: mindful walking, body scans, and loving-kindness meditation. Each practice was a new tool in his arsenal, helping him to navigate the labyrinth of his mind. Remember, Julian and Sophia often said, "Your mind is like a garden. It requires patience, care, and time to flourish. Weeds of negative thoughts will always try to take root, but with diligence and mindfulness, you can cultivate a garden of peace and clarity." Chapter 5: Confronting the Shadow. As Julian's practice deepened, so did his awareness of the whispering shadow. He began to understand that this shadow was a part of him, a manifestation of his fears, regrets, and unfulfilled desires. Sophia encouraged him to confront it, not with aggression or anger, but with compassion and curiosity. One evening, during a particularly intense meditation session, Julian found himself face to face with the shadow. It loomed large, a dark, amorphous presence that seemed to pulsate with negativity. But instead of recoiling in fear, Julian took a deep breath and approached it. "What are you?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. The shadow seemed to ripple, as if surprised by the question. In the silence that followed, Julian felt a shift. The shadow began to unravel, revealing fragments of his past moments of failure, words left unsaid, dreams abandoned. Each fragment was a part of him, and as he acknowledged them, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. Chapter 6. Embracing the Journey. With time and practice, Julian learned to integrate the shadow into his being. It was no longer an enemy to be vanquished, but a part of his inner landscape that needed understanding and compassion. His mind, once a battleground, began to transform into a sanctuary. Julian's life outside of his mind reflected this change. He found himself more present in his interactions, more patient and empathetic. The whispering shadow no longer held sway over his nights. Instead, his dreams became a space of exploration and creativity. The journey of mastering his mind was ongoing, but Julian had come to embrace it. He understood that the path to inner peace was not a destination, but a continuous process of growth and self-discovery. Each day was an opportunity to learn, to practice, and to cultivate the garden of his mind. Chapter 7. Sharing the Wisdom. Inspired by his transformation, Julian decided to share his journey with others. He started a blog, writing about his experiences and the techniques that had helped him. His words resonated with many, and soon he found himself leading workshops and mindfulness sessions. One day, after a particularly engaging workshop, a young woman approached Julian with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "Your story gave me hope. I've been struggling for so long and I didn't know where to turn." Julian smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Remember," he said gently, "the journey is different for everyone, but with patience, compassion, and practice you can find your way. Your mind is a powerful ally once you learn to work with it." Chapter 8. The Infinite Path. Years passed, and Julian continued to grow and evolve in his practice. He faced new challenges, but with each one he found new depths of resilience and understanding. His relationship with the whispering shadow had transformed into a dialogue, a partnership of sorts, guiding him toward deeper self-awareness. In his later years, Julian often reflected on his journey. He had come to see that mastering the mind was not about achieving a state of perpetual calm or eradicating negative thoughts. It was about learning to navigate the ebb and flow of life with grace, embracing the full spectrum of human experience. One evening, as Julian sat on his balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had also been beautiful and enlightening. He had learned that the true art of mastering the mind lay in understanding acceptance and continuous growth. And so Julian's story became a testament to the power of mindfulness, a beacon of hope for those seeking to find peace within themselves. The whispering shadow, once a source of torment, had become a guide, leading him toward a life of clarity, compassion, and inner harmony.